Pemirsa masih bersama kami dalam Gelar Wicara. Pesatnya perkembangan teknologi informasi dan komunikasi yang saat ini disebut dengan revolusi industri 4.0 telah menciptakan perubahan mendasar dalam semua aspek kehidupan masyarakat termasuk pendidikan. Oleh karena itu Indonesia juga diharapkan bisa menghadapi perubahan ini dengan menyongsong Education 4.0. So the next question, we need to be ready in dealing with this Education 4.0. And therefore, there has to be the equality of development and spreading the development throughout the nation. However, this is not the case. Especially Indonesia is very big. So how can the school be ready or prepare the teachers when we don't have adequate ICT facilities in their area?
Yeah, I think it is a challenge in a very big country like Indonesia with 3 million people.
250 million people.
No, 3 million teachers. I'm sorry,
yeah.
3 million teachers, right? 3 million teachers. The issue about providing professional development for teachers, the challenge is not so much in the big cities like Jakarta and Yogyakarta, right? I think the big issue is always going out to the rural and remote area, like Gelar Wicara in Papua, right? Whereby there are teachers there that may not have undergone any training before, right? And even if they have undergone training, they might not have the opportunities for continuous professional development. Because for them, if they are going for professional development, they need to walk maybe 2 days to reach Wamena, right? And then after that, do the professional development. So the key challenge is how do we address it? We do believe that technologies could address that. It need not be done with like the wireless internet connection. It could be using like open courseware, standalone, right? Using very minimal power on the laptop in order to run through some of those courseware for the teachers. The use of the mobile phones are really important as well, whereby they can use the data that is available to access some of the professional development type of resources. But the key thing then would be how do we eventually get teachers from different SD together in a remote area to share the practices among themselves. I think that is always possible in a face-to-face situation. At least the schools are situated quite closely together, right? 2 or 3 hours walk or 3 to 4 hours walk where they can share their practices, right? But we could definitely make use of technologies to address some of those challenges.
Okay, so what are the strategy to develop this teacher competencies to able to use ICT effectively in learning?
Thing is, when we say use ICT effectively in their teaching, means when they are teaching in the classroom. Okay, we need to be quite clear that at times in the rural remote area, it might not be possible for students to be using the technologies because there's just not enough power supply, there's just not enough hardware to go around. Right, so which means that quite often teachers would be the one using the technologies. And I think depending on where the teacher is being based, you should be able to use the strategies appropriately to be able to address that. So, for example, the teacher in the remote area, they might be using some digital resources that they can share to the students in the classroom, right, for them to take a look at a simulation or to give them like virtual reality tour, right, of certain places in Indonesia or certain places all around the world. So I think there's no one fixed strategy. So the strategy would really depend on the context in which the teacher are being based in. But I do totally understand that in Indonesia there are even villages whereby there's no power supply at all, or the power supply is very limited. So we need to be realistic that sometimes it just might not be possible to use technologies. But not being able to use technologies for their teaching does not mean that they do not need their capacity to be built. They still need capacity building, right? So that they are able to deliver their lessons in a pedagogically sound way, whereby the students are able to learn effectively in that particular learning environment.
Yes. The role of teachers are very vital in education, of course. But in some places, particularly in Indonesia, some of them is not have enough welfare or enough income for them to survive. So they need to work elsewhere in order to survive. How do you view this?
I mean, it is an issue whenever it may be a city school, it may be a rural school, right? The city schools, some of the teachers might do moonlighting as private tutors.
Yes.
They might be teaching in a tutorial school. The rural schools, some of them in the afternoon, they might go and tend to their own farm or their own farm animals. So that is not an education problem per se, but that is something that policymakers will need to actually address. How do we compensate teachers, right? Like by ensuring our teachers are adequately paid, right, in such a way whereby they can so-called be able to bring bacon back to their table for their family and to be able to lead at least a middle income type of life. We need to ensure that teachers are adequately compensated. And that is actually a teacher policy, right, rather than really an education problem, right? Because by being able to pay the teachers adequately at times, their status within the society will also rise, right? Because then you will attract the better students to become teachers, right? So the status rise, and in a way, when the status rise, or the pay rise, the status rise, I think the quality of the teachers would also improve, right? Because they would be willing to dedicate more time into their own learning and also their teaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have another small break, and pemirsa jangan kemana-mana, kami akan segera kembali setelah jeda yang berikut ini.